Clint Eastwood is still admired globally for his iconic roles that influenced generations. He was the embodiment of calm, from the quiet gunslinger to the tough investigator. Strength and unwavering perseverance. However, few people today actually know the life that lurks behind those iconic eyes. What happens if a man who used to be considered tough starts to slow down? You might be surprised by the truth. Life following a partner's death. Clint Eastwood's days have gotten more sedate. At 94, he's not simply getting older. He's acclimating to life without the lady who made aging seem less isolated. Although Christina Sandera wasn't well known or frequently in the news, she was the constant presence behind the camera, the calmness that gave his final years purpose. Perhaps the reason it was so wonderful was because they met in the most commonplace way. When Eastwood first arrived at his Mission Ranch Hotel in Carmel, California, in 24, a location he cherished for its understated elegance and simplicity, Christina was employed there as a hostess. She gave him a kind greeting, her eyes serene and warm rather than starstruck. Later, Clint said to a buddy, "She didn't give a damn about my identity. She was concerned about my condition." Dinner followed that brief encounter, followed by lengthy walks, and gradually, a bond developed between them. Something solid, simple, and incredibly authentic. At one point, Clint whispered to a friend, "She made the end of the day feel like home." They lived in seclusion for almost a decade, away from press tours and the red carpet. At a few premieres, they were spotted together. However, that was uncommon. They stayed inside most evenings and enjoyed a straightforward routine: dinner at home, strolling about the Carmel property, and viewing vintage movies. Those little customs, Clint now misses the ordinary moments the most. "You consider the significant things you will miss," he allegedly informed a close relative, "when someone's gone. However, it's actually the small things that cause you heartache." Like listening to her drone as she irrigated the garden. On July 24th, Christina passed away due to a heart attack. She was just 61. There wasn't no extended illness, only a warning. She was across the dinner table one day, grinning, and the next, the home seemed excessively large and still. According to friends, Clint was devastated by the news. Grief at that age comes in like fog rather than striking like a storm. "He's not the type of man to cry in your presence," remarked a longtime coworker. However, you could tell by his eyes and gait. The spark was less intense. Clint has distanced himself from almost everything public since her death. He continues to rise early, still follows his well-established habits, which include meditation, green tea, and a modest meal, but something's now different. In a recent interview, his son Scott Eastwood stated, "He doesn't say much. However, I am aware of he senses it. Even if they are silent about it, you can tell when someone is carrying a lot of weight." According to Scott, the family checks in more frequently just to be there, not because they are worried. "He is a tough guy, but nobody is meant to be alone all the time." Clint hasn't mentioned Christina much in public, and he most likely won't. Their approach was always that, discreet, steady, actual. He did, however, say, "I was lucky to have her," in a rare moment of candor with a friend. He still keeps her picture by the bed, according to those close to him. "I know not everyone gets that." She still keeps her favorite mug in the kitchen. Even if the person doesn't, the little things remain. Each person's experience of grief is unique. It appears to Clint Eastwood that he is still strolling the route he created for himself, albeit more slowly and without the woman walking next to him. 10 years with him. He's not looking for pity. He doesn't give speeches. He simply lives with the quiet. One of my neighbors once said, "It's strange. Laughter is not audible from the home no more. Only the television occasionally. As well as birds. He is now spending more time by himself. Visits with family as possible, particularly Scott, who frequently checks in. The house, however, is different. It's not only the existence of Christina's memory rather than her absence. He passes the garden where she loved and pauses. A lifelong buddy stated. He says nothing at all. He merely remains still. Clint Eastwood used to be renowned for his toughness and tenacity, but of days, even small things, it may surprise those who remember that things like standing up or opening a jar have become challenging. His commanding presence on film. The battles for silent health. The legendary Clint Eastwood, who once exuded unwavering confidence and raw strength, is now a guy dealing with the silent struggles of aging. The physical cost of aging at age 94 is it's obvious. His health has noticeably declined, according to people close to him. He was once a symbol of immense power. The effects of time have left him feeble, thin, and notably diminished. His once muscular physique, which had been honed by decades of Hollywood roles and hardships in real life, now bears the unseen burden of loss and the weight of years. He's not a close friend revealed. The Clint we remember from the movies. Seeing him in this state is difficult. His body is clearly exhausted. Among the most obvious alterations is his stance. He no longer has the recognizable, powerful stance that typified his tough guy persona. Having a noticeable hunchback. For a man formerly renowned for his athletic prowess, this change serves as a sharp reminder of how quickly time is passing. A few months ago, I saw him, according to a neighbor who has known Clint for years. And he seemed so small, hunched over. It seemed as though the weight of everything had become too great for him to bear, and he was no longer standing tall. According to reports, Clint has experienced a number of health problems recently. Due to his limited mobility, he now needs help getting around his house. The basic act of rising and moving across a room, which was formerly instinctive, has become into a challenge. His once steady gait has decreased, and his steps are now more erratic, according to friends. According to a longtime worker at his Mission Ranch hotel, he used to walk with such purpose. Now, he walks with a tired gait. He is meticulous, as if he is gauging every motion. Clint has long struggled with health concerns, but it's evident now that aging is taking its toll. Its toll in hitherto unheard of ways. Over the years, rumors regarding his difficulties have circulated. With his joints and knees, and although he has kept it quiet, some claim that those conditions have gotten worse over time. According to reports, he has been struggling with joint pain and arthritis, making movement challenging. Even more difficult to see, though, is how his once strong body has been deconstructed away, making him weaker and thinner. He used to be so solid, a friend remarked stealthily. Now, Clint has always been a man of few words, and he looks so thin that he almost seems to be disappearing. However, some closest to him claim that in recent months, he has grown even more guarded. He's simply not the same. A relative remarked. He is now more subdued. He makes fewer attempts to connect. It's rather difficult to watch, and I believe he's handling everything in his own manner. That despite Clint's withdrawal from his loved ones, it's obvious that he is grieving alone, bearing the loss of the one person who had become his daily friend in silence. However, despite his modest power, Clint's struggles are suddenly more noticeable. The man who formerly personified toughness, who specialized in portraying silent, powerful heroes, is currently facing the most difficult battle of his life, one without a director or a screenplay to steer him. It is a fight against time, with the pain of losing someone who gave life meaning, as well as with his own body. The myth fans' perceptions of Clint Eastwood may endure, but the man who created the myth is quietly slipping away, waging a struggle he cannot win yet does not seek pity for. It goes beyond the physical deterioration. It's the emotional and mental strain of losing a loved one, so closely entwined with his daily existence. No amount of wealth or celebrity can ease the suffering of what a loss. Once the embodiment of strength, Clint Eastwood now has to navigate in silence the challenges of aging and the eerie loss of the lady he loved. He battles as the days go by. Continue. Calmly, stoically, as the man he has always been, but it's obvious that the struggles he now faces are different from anything he has ever faced. Are you curious about Clint Eastwood's spending habits? Days now? Let's see what life looks like by peeking inside his peaceful, everyday existence. For a 90-year-old Hollywood legend, maintaining his routine. Clint's days begin early, as they always do. Even if his surroundings have changed, his life is quieter, his body is slowing down, and his discipline is still there. Staying in shape for a movie isn't the goal. Role or upholding one's reputation. It's about retaining authority in a world where it feels so unclear. Clint has always been a habitual person, and more, his rituals provide a feeling of security. Clint's routine, in spite of his weakness, is a manifestation of the fortitude he has always possessed. He gets up early every day and maintains a healthy diet. Nothing extravagant, just salmon, brown rice, fresh fruits and vegetables, but nourishing and healthful. He has been adhering to this routine for years, and it is a component of how he keeps up the little strength he still possesses. He has always been very careful about what he eats, a lifelong buddy said. Clint never followed fads or diets. He simply understood the significance of being straightforward and maintaining his health. He also incorporates exercise into his daily routine. Clint finds methods to stay active even if he no longer engages in the physical responsibilities of his earlier years. Active. It is a daily ritual to stroll through his expansive California property. Even yet, his speed is slower now, and friends say he likes the quiet of his walks, when he can connect and think with the natural world. He also makes time for golf, which has always been a part of his life. Clint enjoys playing golf since it's a calm challenge rather than a competitive sport. Winning on the course has never been his focus. Clint has always focused on going outside, a golfing friend who has been playing with Clint for years stated. He's moving and clearing his head. However, Clint's dedication is arguably one of the most important components of his practice. He has been practicing transcendental meditation for more than 40 years. He was first encountered meditation in the 1970s, long before it gained popularity as a wellness fad. For Clint, meditation has long been more than just a means of unwinding. It's a means of keep your mind clear and control your tension. Even now, when his life is more restrained and contemplative, he continues to include meditation into his daily regimen. One of the calmest people I've ever met is Clint. An old coworker remarked. He seems to have figured out how to focus and center himself, regardless of the circumstances surrounding him. Meditation, in my opinion, has been really important in that. To some, Clint's daily calm discipline may appear uninteresting, but to him, it serves as a lifeline. Although he is no longer the silent, powerful man he once was, by adhering to Clint Eastwood demonstrates through his routine that resiliency isn't always demonstrated by extravagant displays. Occasionally, it's in the basic activities of getting up, eating healthily, going for a stroll outside, and setting aside time to make your mind clear. Clint does this by clinging to what he has left, the stability of life, the routines that have supported him through every challenge. Clint's regimen has changed as he gets older. Even more significant, it serves as a reminder that even when everything around you is falling apart, while he is changing, some things can stay the same. And Clint discovers a sense of calm steadiness and that of tranquility, a strength that comes more from his spirit than from his body. Over time, his habits have provided him with security, and as he navigates his most challenging but still, such practices provide a window into the quiet fortitude that continues to characterize him. Despite his physical slowdown, Clint Eastwood's love of sharing stories is still very much alive and well. Let's see how this 94-year-old icon continues to influence Hollywood with his most recent directing endeavors. The Last Frame. The renowned actor and filmmaker Clint Eastwood is renowned for his uncompromising work ethic and steadfast dedication to his profession. As he approaches his 80s, he keeps pushing the envelope by making soul-stirring movies. His most recent Juror No. 2's attempt is no different. But this movie's route hasn't been your average one. Representing not just Eastwood's professional development, but also the changing dynamics of Hollywood and the entire film business. Juror No. 2 was released in 2024. Was greeted by an unconventional release plan. Warner Brothers, the film's production company, made the controversial decision to have a restricted theatrical distribution in the United States. Conventionally, a picture from a filmmaker of Clint's caliber would be honored with a lavish premiere and a comprehensive, broad distribution. Instead, Warner Brothers chose not to disclose Juror No. 2's modest opening box office results, which made many wonder if the studio was truly committed to Eastwood's vision. According to a film industry analyst who has followed Clint Eastwood's career for decades, this release felt different. You anticipate a huge splash for someone like Clint, but instead, the movie was secretly released, as if they weren't sure how to handle it. It's an odd move for a filmmaker with Eastwood's reputation. Juror's unreported box office receipts No. 2 made the puzzle much more complex. For a filmmaker whose productions have historically performed well at the box office, this was a strange change from draws like $1 Million Baby or American Sniper. The choice not to make the data public could indicate a lack of confidence on the part of the studio, or possibly an indication of Hollywood's objectives are changing as streaming has taken center stage in the way that people watch movies. Although Clint has always been fiercely independent, many close to him have observed that the dynamics of today's Hollywood is difficult, especially for someone of his caliber. It's not like Clint makes movies for the cash or the recognition anymore, remarked a former coworker who has collaborated with Clint on multiple movies. However, even he must question what's happening when a movie he put his all into does not receive the support that he is accustomed to. The film, a gripping legal thriller, displays Clint's signature directing style, which is concise in its narrative and plenty of depth in feeling. The story follows a juror who learns that he might have caused a defendant's death by mistake, which made him consider his moral quandary. In many respects, the film captures Clint's lifelong concern in justice, individual accountability, as well as human frailties. Despite its brief stint in theaters, Juror No. 2 has had attracted notice for its richness of theme and Clint's directing style. Detractors have given the movie high marks for its incisive language and its treatment of remorse and conscience. As a filmmaker, Clint has always been able to capture the essence of human emotion. A film critic who gave the movie a review. Juror No. 2 is no exception. It's the type of movie that keeps you thinking long after it's finished. Nevertheless, the movie's reception and release conversations concerning Clint Eastwood's career prospects have also been triggered by strategy. At 94, the reality that Clint is nearing the end of his career cannot be denied. Hollywood is changing in its own way as well. Streaming services are now the most popular force in the business, altering the production, distribution, and viewing of movies. There is a change. Even the most seasoned veterans, like Clint, are now unsure about their place in the system. The industry has changed so much, remarked one of Clint's longtime friends. When he first began, the film industry was an entirely different entity. Theaters were essential. Currently, streaming is the king. Although Clint has always adjusted, navigating this new world might be challenging when you've lived your entire life in a single manner. Some have conjectured that Warner Brothers might have used Clint's most recent project as a test case for Juror Number 2 in order to evaluate prior to switching to streaming audience interest in a more restricted theatrical distribution. With these days, with so many studios concentrating on direct-to-streaming releases, the choice to promote Juror putting Number 2 on a streaming service sooner than anticipated appears to be a reflection of the times. What does this signify for Clint's legacy, though? It's evident to Clint that his enthusiasm for the art of filming has not deteriorated. One of the crew members who worked commented, "He still has that fire," regarding Juror Number 2. He never slows down. He's on set every day, right in the thick of things, making sure everything is flawless. For him, it's not about cash or accolades. He simply enjoys making films. Clint's attitude to filmmaking is changing along with his career. Although some people might perceive that Clint himself cited the unusual release of Juror Number 2 as evidence of Hollywood's shifting priorities, is centered on a far more basic goal: creating meaningful stories. Clint is an individual who's another source who has known Clint for years stated, "I've never been influenced by trends." He carries out his does since it resonates with him. Whether viewers watch it on their couches at home or in theaters, that is less important than the fact that he continues to produce pictures that people find moving. Even though Juror Number 2's performance at the box office is still up in the air, one thing: the legacy of Clint Eastwood is safe. Regardless matter how his most recent endeavor is published, opens a new chapter in an incredible career that has lasted almost 50 years. Clint might not be having as much of an impact at the box office as he did during his best years, but he is continuing to produce films that provoke thought, emotion, and inquiry. And that alone is evidence of his lasting influence on film. Let's examine the family's silent power that stayed by his side. And when the cameras stop, who is still standing next to Clint Eastwood? The lights dim and the rolling begins. His family by his side. Although everyone recalls Clint as a tough cowboy or a perceptive investigator, his kids view him with much greater humanity. They spot a dad. A man who appeared unbeatable at one point, he is now leaning on the people he raised, walking more slowly, and speaking softer. Clint Eastwood has 8 kids, all of them came from various partnerships over the years. Although he was not aware of it, his oldest daughter, Lori Murray, was born in 1994. Her presence for a long time. They connected later in life after she was adopted at birth. Developing intensely but silently. Kimber was born in 1964, and she was his daughter with Roxanne. Tunis. Following that, Kyle appeared in '98, and Allison followed in '92. From his first union with Maggie Johnson, his family expanded along with his film career. Late in the 19th century, Jocelyn Reeves, a former flight attendant, gave birth to Scott and Catherine in the 70s. Francesca in 1993, his daughter, who was married to actress Frances Fisher, arrived. Morgan, the youngest, was born in 1996 while he was married to news anchor Dina Rees for the second time. Every child was raised in a unique environment that was influenced by Clint's changing professional and personal life. While some were protected from the spotlight, others spent more time in it. Their partnership hasn't always been easy or conventional. For many years, known for being on site more often than at home, Clint was a busy man. A lot of time spent on set, and he wasn't always emotionally open due to his intensely private attitude. However, aging has a method of making even the hardest of us softer. These days, Clint's kids play a major role in his existence. They frequently get together, particularly since his longtime partner Christina Sandera passed away. Even the strongest heart would have been moved by the silence left by her unexpected death from a heart attack. Filled with difficulty. With the help of his children, Clint now endures that stillness. They have been his lifeline and more than family. Now a successful actor in his own right, Scott Eastwood has mentioned his father's strength, correct? In one interview, Scott described him as a trooper. "He's doing good," he said, but he also alluded to the silent battles Clint goes through every day. His dad, once a titan of American film, he is now physically deteriorating. He has developed slimmer, with a bent back from age and years of work. Even tiny actions have a big impact. Work. But he keeps going day by day, clinging to the familiarity of faces. The Eastwood residence in Carmel has evolved into a location of tender moments. Family meals, strolls together, in the backdrop are vintage movies. The sound of the grandchildren's laughter fills the corridors, bringing joyous reminders. According to Allison, Clint's daughter, her father had a soft heart beneath all of that toughness. That tenderness is now more apparent. He narrates tales more frequently. He pays more attention. He stops to offer a handshake or a glance that conveys more meaning than words. According to a family acquaintance, the Eastwood kids are more present than ever. Check in frequently. Some spend long periods of time with him. It's not about providing care. It's about being present. A presence. A cup of tea warm. A common recall. The practice of sitting in quiet without making sounds to fill the air. Despite his diminished height, Clint Eastwood's emotional fortitude remains strong. However, that strength today stems from the people who, rather than from bluster or movie roles, envelop him. Through the arm linking of a child, he has learned to embrace love in its most subdued form. Through his own, a thoughtfully prepared meal, and a tale recounted not for attention but for a sense of community. Ultimately, family endures. Through aging, through grief, through transformation, they are standing next to him. For the father they know, not for the man the world sees. It may surprise you to learn that Clint Eastwood now spends a lot of time in silence. Contemplation, going over the events and decisions that molded his remarkable life. Do you want to find out what's on his mind right now? Thoughts in the silence. The 94-year-old Clint Eastwood no longer stalks movie sets or engages in on-screen combat with fictional enemies. Rather, his days are spent with silence, which is significantly more delicate and